Hey everybody, welcome back to Wicked Good Sports. This is Power Play. We're joined, as always, by Chris Uminski. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian. How are you?
Doing quite well. So the season is over, but, there's always another season, Chris. We're going to talk about the off season, and there are a few stories that you want to touch on, so I'm just going to give you the floor. What is first on the agenda?
So the first thing is we are recording this on Wednesday the 14th,
Mm-hmm.
and earlier today, Bruins defenseman Kevan Miller
Mm-hmm.
announced that he is retiring.
Yeah.
And I want to say that he has been one of the best defensemen that the Bruins have seen in a while. He's been a very strong player. He's been a very physical player too. He's had a couple of injuries that he's been dealing with, and he's getting old. And he decided today that he's done, and he deserves a great retirement. And I wish him all the best.
Yeah, so obviously sad for everyone in Bruins Nation. I guess, how can you kind of encapsulate what he's meant to the Bruins for these last few years that he's been here?
I will say that our cup run a couple of years ago, he was a big part of that. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to play in the actual Stanley Cup because he got injured.
Mm,
He's been an enforcer that you could count on when Zdeno Chara wasn't on the ice. So he wasn't afraid to hit. He wasn't afraid to fight. He was very strong on the back end. And just I think he's one of the unsung heroes of the Bruins in the last decade or so.
yeah, so what's his absence going to do? I mean, the Bruins obviously need to replace him with somebody, but, where does this leave the Bruins D, you know?
Oh man, so that the biggest concern I have for the Bruins in the offseason is defense. It blows my mind. I tweeted about this the other day. It blows my mind that the only players that Bruins fans want to see come to town are these wingers and centermen who we have such a strong offensive core that we don't need them. We don't have the salary cap space to afford some of these players that
Right.
other fans want to bring in. The number one priority needs to be rebuilding that defense. We took a huge hit when Zdeno Chara left
Mm,
at the beginning of last season. And now we have another defenseman who's retiring. Jeremy Lauzon is likely to be taken by Seattle in the expansion draft, which leaves us not very many options on defense. Charlie McAvoy is great. Matt Grzelcyk is great. But and Brandon Carlo, we just re-signed for another 6 years, but I am concerned about him. He has injury problems.
mm,
I think that there's a few free agents that I think the Bruins need to start looking at. One of them is, and I don't like to say it, he's a former Bruins player. I don't think he did well here, but he might be the best option right now, and that's Dougie Hamilton.
mm.
He's been playing in Carolina. He's thrived in Carolina, one of their top players. But I think he cannot handle the Boston sports market. That's why he left here the first time that he came.
Right. I mean, I think that's fair. It's not an easy sports market, to be sure. I would say we're pretty easygoing, but the rest of the media people in Boston, the real media people, oof, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
There are a few players that we could get. I actually have a list right here. I think we ought to be looking at players like David Savard, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Maybe Brendan Smith also. Eric Gustafson is available, only $3 million. All these players, we need to be looking in the free agent market. I don't think we can afford to make a trade right now. Especially again, we have an expansion draft coming up, so we're likely to lose a defenseman for nothing.
right.
So I'd rather have the Bruins sign a free agent, and not have to pay anything, as far as players are concerned.
No, yeah. It's tough. I think people just get very enamored with offenses in every sport, right? Like people, all they care about is the quarterback, the wide receiver, the running back in the NFL. Who's scoring, who's putting it up. But it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Defense wins championships, and that's just how it's always going to be. So, yeah, unfortunate for the Bruins there. Obviously, wish Kevin the best of luck in retirement, and hope everything's all good on his end. So, from one player retiring to another player trying to get out of his situation, Vladimir Tarasenko is requesting a trade.
Yes, Vladimir Tarasenko, who's a winger for the St. Louis Blues at the moment,
Right.
he is requesting a trade. His reasons are that he feels as though the organization did not treat him right when he was injured last season.
Okay. So
he had a pretty serious leg injury. He had to get surgery, and he feels as though that he did not get the support from the organization that he needed. They were, even when he was coming back, they were working him too hard. It was hard for him to heal. This is all according to him. I haven't heard very much from the Blues' point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But long story short is that he wants out, and I've been looking at this. I just read an article on The Athletic, and there are a couple of teams that there are rumors about. There's a rumor that the Washington Capitals might go for him, try to put him on a line with Alex Ovechkin, which I think that would be great, but I don't think the Capitals can afford him. Problem with Tarasenko is that he is a very expensive player.
Right.
You're gonna take a $7.5 million cap hit for him. He's one of the highest paid players in the NHL.
Right.
So if the Blues are able to move him at all, whoever they give him to is going to have to give up something also very big. There was a rumor too that they had offered him to the Bruins for a couple of defensive players, and we just covered this.
Right. We just talked about why that would not be ideal for the Bruins to do.
I have no interest in Tarasenko on the Bruins. But then the only other option would be, if Tarasenko doesn't want to be there, is to expose him in the expansion draft.
Right. Which Seattle would gladly probably take him, I would imagine.
Seattle will, if Tarasenko is available, there's no doubt that Seattle takes him. The only reason I don't see that happening is that are the Blues willing to give him up for nothing?
Right. No, it'd be pretty unwise to do that. I mean, they got to get something back, right? Like, they can't just let him go entirely. So, interesting, I guess, to watch there. Do you have any, gut feelings on whether or not you agree with his feelings toward the organization or where he might end up?
This has actually been an issue that has come up with a couple of teams in the NHL recently. Is the issue of how players are being treated by the organization? Because it's a business. The players are the organization's moneymakers, so they're gonna expect them to be to play at a certain level and to not be hurt all the time. Right. So I can definitely see the Blues' point of view on this, but I agree more with Tarasenko. If you're someplace where you're not able to be your best, then you got to get out of there. Otherwise, you're not helping yourself. You're not helping your team. Nobody wins if he stays there.
Right, and it's hard once trust is broken in that kind of a situation to ever regain it, especially where it's these players' body is their career, and if they feel like they're getting fucked over, in that sense, then they're just not gonna trust the team anymore.
Yeah.
So, be interested. We'll keep an eye out, obviously, for that. We talked a little bit about the Kraken potentially drafting him in the expansion draft. The expansion draft's pretty close, Chris. What are your thoughts going into that?
Today, I am so excited. I am looking so forward to this. I can't wait to see who they take. I've been mostly following who's available on the Bruins. Them to take, and I've already said I think they're going to take Jeremy Lauzon. I think he's the best available option right now for the Kraken to take. I don't want to see Lauzon go.
Right.
He's a young player. He's got a great future ahead of him. I had the opportunity to see him play when he was playing with the Providence Bruins. in the AHL, and he was a stud there. He's doing okay with the Bruins so far. He's still young, but I think he's going to be a big part of the Kraken going forward should he be drafted.
Right. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that. Obviously, once the draft happens, we'll do a video on it and kind of break down everyone they selected, where you think they're going to fit in, who you think the starters are going to be, all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for that, because this is an exciting time. I mean, we just saw the...
live tweeting it also.
Right, yeah, so follow Chris on there on Twitter. So, yeah, I mean, we saw the Vegas Golden Knights go from a team that didn't exist to a team playing for a championship in a year, so... Hey, we'll see if Seattle can keep up that level of success.
You know, I think the league is going to do everything in their power to help them get there. Because it was so good for the NHL to have Vegas do that well.
Yeah.
Their first series. I mean, as a fan of an original six team, it's for me it's a little painful to watch a new team do that well. But as just a casual hockey fan, also, it's so fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I mean it's good. It's good for immediately Vegas to have fans because they're so good. Like it'll only help the sport grow, and I mean it's always good news when the league's expanding, right? Like not too many other leagues have been really adding teams lately, so this is good for the NHL.
Yeah, I think that the NHL might be the only league in the last 15 years or so to add any teams.
Yeah, the last team I can remember. So Oklahoma City got, ironically, the Seattle Supersonics. So that's not really an expansion, more just a team moving. Yeah. The Nationals got from the Expos.
Montreal, yeah.
Yeah, and then
the Raiders just moved from Oakland to Vegas.
Right.
The Vegas Golden Knights opening up that sports market.
I know, it really did. And then the last time I can really remember, and I'm sure there's other that I'm just forgetting, and people will correct us in the comments if they come across this, but the Houston Texans are the last true expansion team I can recall, and the NFL did not help them off the get. They were really bad for a long time, and then they were pretty good, and now they're back to probably being pretty bad. So interesting there. I think the NHL does it a little better.
Sean Watson question mark?
Oh yeah, I've been not covering that.
Yeah.
Maybe I've been trying to wait for it to kind of shake out more concretely, but it appears that it's just going to be a question for a while. So we'll see what happens there. But Chris, so far as hockey goes, anything else you'd like to add before we get on out of here?
Nope, I think that's it. I'm looking forward to the expansion draft. That's going to be so fun to watch. I can't wait to see what Seattle's going to do. And then I hope they do well, but not too well.
Right, yeah, of course. I'm looking forward to it as well. Looking forward to talking about it here on the show. Chris, where can they find you online?
I'm always tweeting about hockey. Like I said, I'm going to live tweet the expansion draft, Chris_Uminski on Twitter. And then I'm also on Facebook. I post about hockey, post about other stuff too. Just for fun.
So go follow him over there. You can find me on Twitter at @theFakeBMar, that's BMARR. I'm going to try to do this in an organized fashion this time. Our YouTube channels. This one, Wicked Good Sports. Our main one, youtube.com/WickedEverything. Our podcast channel, Better Radio. You can find the channel on Twitter at Wicked Good Sport, or at WG Everything on Instagram, at Wicked Good Everything on Twitch, at twitch.tv/Wicked Good Everything, and on TikTok, search Wicked Good Everything. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one.